Today, I'll discuss the application cost for a MS or a PhD program in the US. I will only talk about the expenses until you land in the US. And in case you're struggling and you're thinking how to cover those expenses, I will also discuss some tips at the end. Hi friends, and welcome to Fireflies in Life. I'm a former master's student married to a PhD student, and I'm here to share things I wish I knew before. Number 1, test costs. For most universities in the US, you will need to write either GRE or GMAT and TOEFL. Now, depending on the country you are from, these test costs might differ. But the good news is, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, many universities have waived off this criteria. So it might happen that you need not write the exams. But TOEFL, definitely yes, because TOEFL is a English proficiency test. You will have to write TOEFL. Because of the pandemic, all these tests have been made online, which means that you can now take this test from the comfort of your home, and there will be a person who will monitor the test virtually. So GRE costs around $205, which if I talk in Indian rupees, it will be around 15,500. Similarly, GMAT costs around $275 in the US, which is around 20,000 rupees in India, and TOEFL is $180, which is around 14,000 rupees in India. Now, when you come to write GRE or GMAT, you should know that the score that you obtain from the exam, that score has to be sent by the exam organizers to the universities you want to apply in the US, which means that you cannot personally mail the scorecard or the mark sheet, as we say. The GRE organizing institute will have to mail those scores. So if you write GRE, you can send your scores free up to 4 universities, for GMAT 5 universities, and for TOEFL 4 universities. So please select the universities before you go to write those exams and have them in mind. Also, there's an additional fee after those 4 or 5 universities. And number 2, university application fee. Every university in the US will charge an amount. It varies. Normally it ranges from $70 to $90, which in terms of Indian rupees is around 5,000 to 7,000 rupees. One important fact to note here is that you can always ask for application fee waiver, which I did not know, which basically means that you can write to the admission committee or the department administration and ask for an application fee waiver. Number 3, SEVIS fee. This is basically a fee you pay to the US government if you are an international student. This is $350, which in terms of Indian rupees is rupees 26,000. Number 4, I20 mailing fee. I20 is basically a document from the university certifying that you have been actually admitted into the university. If you are an international student, you cannot come to the US to collect that document. The university will have to mail you the document, and it is usually you will have to pay a courier service like FedEx or UPS, which will cost around $60 or 4,000 rupees. Number 5, US visa. US visa fees for student, which is the F1, is $160, which is around in Indian rupees 12,000. Number 6, travel to US. A one-way ticket to US will usually cost around $600 to $700. I'll link the websites where you can book the tickets below, and I'll link all the relevant websites. Number 7, WES. So WES is a non-profit organization based in New York, which evaluates educational institutions all over the world. So sometimes when you apply to a university in the US, it might ask you for a WES evaluation report, which basically means that in that report, it will certify your courses, the education institute you studied, the credits, and it will also convert your country's CGPA to US GPA scale. I'm not saying that all universities require that, but some programs might require that. It is not a mandatory thing to do, and I would not recommend going for WES evaluation until it's really necessary. It costs around $205, which would be, I think, 15,000 rupees. And even for WES, the report has to be sent by WES to the university you have applied. Lastly, miscellaneous costs. So if you decide to apply to more than 4 or 5 universities, you'll have to send separate GRE and TOEFL scores, which will be additional cost. Usually people apply to around 8 or 10 universities, but if you think you have a strong application, 4 or 5 should be good enough. If you're from a city where there are no GRE or GMAT test centers, you might have to fly to a different city, which will again have additional travel costs. Similarly, while applying for the US visa, if the embassy is not in your home city, you'll have to fly to a different city, which is again additional travel cost. Again, while coming to the US, if you do not have international flight flying from your hometown, you'll have to fly to a different city, so again additional travel costs. So on an average, the total application cost ranges between around 1 lakh to 1,50,000 rupees. I would say that don't be scared with that. If you're struggling with that, I would recommend that number one, you find a job, work in a place where cost of living is really low, live a hard life and save up. This is definitely doable. I did it, although for a different reason. Just keep in mind the light at the end of the tunnel. Number two, take a loan or debt from someone. I don't think it's a huge amount. And if you come for a PhD program, as PhD program offers stipend, you'll be able to return the money within 3 months. If you're frugal and you really want to come to the US, this is definitely doable. Every dollar or rupee is a lot when it gets added up. To give you an example, I would urge you to ask yourself, how many times did you change your phone recently? Did you buy a vehicle like a two-wheeler? Or did you spend money on your hair, like straightening your hair? Or did you buy expensive clothes to attend a wedding? These expenses might seem small, but when you add up, this is a lot, and this will cover your application basically. And I'm sharing this because I was talking with a friend and she said that she does not have money for the application, but at the same time she just told me that she spent around 15,000 rupees, which is basically your GRE fee straightening your hair. And lastly, for Indian students, I know that Indian weddings can be extravagant. If your parents are saving any money for your wedding, please convince them to help you out in the application. This is far more important, and you will be able to sponsor your own wedding.